A very good evening, everyone. This is Ms. Indrakshi Bhattacharya from the BFSI board. Welcome everyone today on the webinar on the topic SEBI Circular on Cyber Security and Cyber Resilience Framework. And this is organized by the Banking, Financial Services and Insurance Board of the Institute of Cost Accountants of India. The Cyber Security and Cyber Resilience Framework, CSCRF, for SEBI regulated entities is a regulatory guideline to strengthen protection, detection, response, and recovery from cyber risks across capital market intermediaries like the stock exchanges, depositories, brokers, mutual funds, etc. CMAs can play a strategic and governance-driven role in ensuring compliance, resilience, and cost optimization in implementing CSCRF. The CMS in the CSCRF implementation is paramount in risk identification and cost-benefit analysis, policy formulation and compliance monitoring, cost control in cybersecurity investments, cyber risk management, data analytics and forensic role, and map cyber risk disclosures to SEBI's business responsibility and sustainability reporting framework. CMAs act as financial stewards, compliance partners, and strategic advisors, ensuring that cybersecurity and resilience investments under SEBI's CSCRF are not just regulatory checkboxes, but also cost-effective, risk-aligned, and governance-driven decisions. So, we welcome our resource person today, Dr. Saurabh Maheshwari, consultant. He will be delving on this pertinent issue today. And we also welcome our chairman, sir, CMA Chitranjan Chattopadhyay, sir. So he is the chairman of our BFSI board and council member. And we welcome CMA Partho Chaudhary, sir. He is our advisor of our BFSI board. We welcome CMA Dibyendu Roy, sir. He is our HOD and secretary. So we welcome all of you. So just before we start, we are playing the Institute's anthem first, and then we will start our session.
Tirgamaya mrityurmamritangamaya asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityurmamritam gamaya Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityurmamritam gamaya.
So now I would request our chairman, sir, CMA Chitranjan Chattopadhyay, sir, to give this address. Sir, please.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Indrakshi ma'am. Ladies and gentlemen, our esteemed guests, the speaker, Dr. Saurabh Maheshwari, who is already on the job and in the studio, just for certain technical issues, he will be joining later on. My fellow professionals, my advisor to the BFSI board, CMA Partho Chaudhary, and of course the architect of this program, our BFSI board, the officials, I am honored to introduce today's discussions on the cybersecurity and cyber resilience framework, which is commonly known as CSCRF for SEBI regulated entities. This program we have organized by our institute ICMI because it's crucial to acknowledge the significance of cybersecurity in our increasingly digital financial landscape. The Securities and Exchange Board of India, SEBI, has taken a proactive approach to safeguard the financial sector by introducing the CSCRF. This framework aims to enhance the cybersecurity postures of regulated entities, SEBI regulated entities, aligning with industry standards and promoting efficient security audits. The key object of this particular cybersecurity and cyber resilience framework can be depicted as improvement of security posture, strengthening regulated entities' defenses against evolving cyber threats, align with the industry standards to adopt globally accepted security measures, and promoting efficient audits by ensuring compliance and transparency in cybersecurity practices. And when we discuss about the framework structure, this CSCRF categorizes regulated entities into different groups based on their operational scale, asset size, and client base. This tiered approach ensures that cybersecurity controls are scalable and manageable for regulated entities of varying sizes and risk profiles. For market infrastructure institutions, comprehensive security practices and frequent audits, qualified regulated entities, robust cybersecurity measures, including Security Operation Center, which is called SOC, and vulnerability assessments are also being done. For mid-size regulated entities, essential cybersecurity and cyber resilience framework requirements, such as encryption and periodic cybersecurity audits. And for small size regulated entities, focus on core cybersecurity practices. But all these frameworks for implementation, there is a challenges are there. While the framework provides comprehensive guidelines, regulated entities may face challenges, including resource constraints, financial and technical difficulties in implementing advanced cybersecurity measures. There may be talent shortage, difficulty in finding skilled professionals to meet framework requirements, and compliance burden, extensive documentation and reporting obligations. So, ladies and gentlemen, here our CMA profession has got huge role to play, both in terms of your cost, expenses, financial, and also as a skilled professional, skilled CMA. And for the compliance also, we can definitely, be one of the essential professionals to extend all support to this particular framework. As we navigate the complexity of cybersecurity and cyber resilience, it's essential for regulated entities to prioritize proactive measures, invest in robust security practices, and foster a culture of cyber awareness. Ladies and gentlemen, as you all know, that SEBI in August 28, 2025, August 28, 2005, a comprehensive technical clarifications rather, to cybersecurity and cyber resilience framework for SEBI regulated entities they have issued, recognizing the need for robust cybersecurity measures and protection of data and IT infrastructure. Securities and Exchange Board of India has issued this cybersecurity and cyber resilience framework for SEBI regulated entities. It was in August 2024, it was first issued. But upon receipt of various queries from regulated entities seeking extension and clarifications on the of this circular, SEBI has also issued many clarifications and also the frequent asked questions. But after that, SEBI, based on these further discussions, the technical clarifications have been issued with respect to cybersecurity and cyber resilience framework for SEBI regulated entities. four parts, they have just made the clarifications. One, part A, that is principles for regulated entities under multiple regulators purview. Then part B, technical clarifications. Then part C, recategorization of portfolio managers and merchant bankers. Part D, cybersecurity audit policy guidelines from 13. We from the Institute of Cost Accounts of India, we are having our DISA course, and our DISA course is already recognized by 13. But in this framework, we understand that our professionals have great role to play, and we have to continuously move forward with the requirement of these particular circulars. As we being a responsible professional institute, ICMI is always supporting the regulators and regulators' requirement. Therefore, this particular session would be a very important, and I understand that our speaker will be definitely delving on these issues. Before I conclude, I just want to mention you all that our institute is considering many of the courses on the various data analytics. Then, cybersecurity also is one of the main areas, and we have got a AI Provesh course for all our members. So I think let us all work together and let us join together to make a very to actually represent ourselves before the regulators, a very responsible professional, so that we can really act very responsibly for the benefit of the society, for the benefit of the corporates, and benefit of the regulated entities. With this, I welcome you all, and I'm sure this today's program will be definitely a good one for you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, our chairman, sir. So now I will request CMA Partho Chaudhary, sir, our advisor of our BFSI board, to give the special address.
Thank you, Indrakshi Madam. Namaskar to everybody. Respected CMA Chittaranjan Chakrabarty sir, Chairman BFSI Department, respected Dr. Saurabh Maheshwari, Consultant, who will be joining shortly, officials from the BFSI Department, and dear participants. As usual, it is a matter of great honor and pride for me to address you, especially today, on this very interesting topic of SEBI directed cyber resilience framework and cybersecurity. The importance of this particular framework issued by the regulator SEBI has already been nicely elaborated by our chairman, sir. I just want to highlight a few of the issues which I feel that as a part of the financial world in India, I find it very important. We are all aware that cyber threats related to use of digital platform in any financial transactions are very high. And these threats cannot be seen in isolation especially when there are multiple regulators in the financial ecosystem. As you are aware that RBI for quite some time was issuing various guidelines to help the bank to protect their operations, non-banking financial companies also, whom RBI acts as regulator. Now, with this 2024 circular, SEBI has correctly approached the whole issue of an integrated cyber awareness and protection framework. It's a very welcome gesture on the part of the SEBI to be very proactive in this particular area. This cyber crime, cyber threat are a deep concern for the government for the regulator supervisors, for the law enforcement authorities, and particularly for the stakeholders, the customers, the operators, the person who are going to use this facility. This is the real significance, that not only the framework, but the awareness about the framework, the awareness and the reasons for having certain protocol to be maintained by everybody in the ecosystem is of prime importance. As we move further, there will be more liberalization. For example, NPCI has just said that the part transaction and part day limit under UPI will be enhanced. So the part transaction and part day limit, as it is enhancing, so the threat also enhancing. So we require protection in an enhanced environment. That is how the life goes on. In this case, SEBI has come out with this guideline, followed by clarifications and a technical updated document where the part A is very correctly addressed those entities who are under different regulators. We are aware that many financial institutions are putting on different hats, which is across the regulatory domain of different regulators in India. Now, the plan of this framework is very clear. Anticipate, withstand, contain, recover, and evolve. I think fundamentally, this is the approach of the framework, which SEBI is trying to put in place. Of course, the regulated entities are not all at the same level, cannot implement it in one go. So, in phases, it will be implemented. But the most important part is we, the people who are part of this entire system as investor, depositor, we should also be very aware of the process, the mechanism, and the protocol which we must follow to be safe in our transactions. Dr. Maheshwari is an authority and expert on this field, and it's a great opportunity for us to listen to him on this framework which has been put by SEBI. I will also humbly request our respected speaker to highlight the role the CMS can play in this evolving scenario where the cybersecurity awareness and cybersecurity measures can be implemented expeditiously. We CMS have a great role to play in this ecosystem. I'm absolutely sure that the participants of this webinar will be immensely benefited with the discussions and the presentation of Dr. Maheshwari. And I really thank the BFSI department to arrange such a relevant webinar to help us, the CMAs, to upgrade ourselves and be aware of what is happening in the financial world in India. Thank you very much for listening to my points. Jai Hind. Back to Indrakshi Madam.
Thank you.
Dr. Dr. Saurabh Maheshwari is joining very shortly. Actually, let us first of all, the SEBI circular. I understand that before he joins, I was supposed to delve on this matter. Therefore, I will be requesting all our participants to please just be apprised of, because this is a very recent circular, which is of huge importance. While Dr. Maheshwari will be delving on this. And part A, I just mentioned you that principles for SEBI regulated entities under multiple regulators. SEBI has mentioned that there are several SEBI regulated entities on various business operations, and their activities are being regulated by multiple regulator bodies within the Indian jurisdiction. For example, SEBI regulated entities such as custodians, depository participants, merchant bankers, etc. are also banks which are being primarily regulated by Reserve Bank of India, as our advisor just immediately mentioned here. There are various standards and corresponding guidelines mentioned in CSCRF, which regulated entities need to implement and comply within a certain manner. For the ease of compliance and clarity of implementations, SEBI has followed principle of exclusivity and principle of equivalence. And this has been formulated by SEBI very consciously during submission of CSCRF compliance. Regulated entities need to demonstrate that they follow the principle of equivalence or exclusivity for the applicable controls. Further, SEBI reserves the right to seek the submissions made by the regulated entities to other regulators to verify their compliances. In case of principles of exclusivity, the scope of cybersecurity, cyber resilience framework shall be limited to only those systems, applications, infrastructure processes which are exclusively used for SEBI regulated activities. Further, the shared infrastructure, network, technology stack, security solutions shall be included in the audit inspection scope by SEBI if the same is not covered under audit inspection scope by primary regulator and their frameworks guidelines. So this is a very important framework, and many representative examples of the standards and corresponding guidelines mentioned in the CSCRF has been exhibited by in this circular. Then again, when the principle of equivalence has been discussed, it has been mentioned that CSCRF controls which have an equivalence in other regulators, cybersecurity frameworks, guidelines, which shall be deemed compliant provided that the frameworks guidelines issued by primary regulator are adhered by such regulated entities. And examples have been set up here, which are the representative examples for principles of equivalence, and these are very nicely crafted. Then again, when the technical clarifications part, SEBI has mentioned the CSCRF clauses, which clauses to be adhered to. One is critical system definitions. Then entities shall identify and classify their critical IT systems. Following systems shall be included in critical system, both and on premises and cloud. Any system, if compromised, that will have an adverse impact on core and critical business operations. Then stores and transmits data as per regulatory requirements. Devices network through which critical systems are connected through trusted channels. Then internet facing application systems, client facing applicant systems, all the ancillary systems used by accessing, communicating with critical systems, either by operations or for maintenance. And the clarifications has been given by by the SEBI in a very exhaustive way. Zero trust security model they have mentioned here. They have mentioned that regulated entities shall follow zero trust security model in such a way that access from within or outside regulated entities network to their critical systems, if denied by default and allowed only after proper authentications and authorizations. And this as a clarifications, SEBI has mentioned that above mentioned guidelines shall not now be read as under regulated entities shall implement suggested strategies, methodologies such as zero trust networks, segmentations, no single point of failure, high availability, etc. And further, the most important is that same shall be approved by the IT committee of regulated entities. In case of mobile application security guidelines, they have mentioned that above mentioned guidelines are recommendatory, not mandatory in nature. When the cyber attack is of high impact, has a broad reach, the regulated entity shall give a press release which shall include but not limited to a brief of the incident, actions taken or to recover normal operations, resumption status once achieved, etc., and inform all the affected customers, stakeholders. If the cyber attack is of low impact and has a narrow, low reach, the regulated entities shall inform all the affected customers and stakeholders. And in the case of the clarifications, now this regulated entities shall take action as per their approved cyber crisis management plan. So CCMP is very important for any regulated entities. In this particular circular, it has been depicted. And regarding regulated entities shall deploy solutions such as BAS, CARD, decay, vulnerable management, etc., to enhance their cyber security posture. For the clarifications, they have mentioned that this guideline shall now be read as under it is recommended that regulated entities consider deploying a range of security solutions in consultation with their IT committees, such as threat simulation, vulnerability management, and decoy systems to assess and enhance their cyber security posture. A lot of clarifications have been issued, and in case of suppliers and third-party service providers of information system components and services shall be identified, prioritized, and assessed using a cyber supply chain risk management risk assessment process. The above mentioned cyber supply chain risk management process may be done by regulated entities in consultation with the IT committee. In case of submission of VAPT and cyber audit report, clarifications have been given that regulated entities shall submit the summary of VAPT and cyber audit reports strictly as per the format mentioned in the CSCRA. In the circular they have given, it is also clarified by the SEBI that at no point of time regulated entities shall submit the explicit vulnerabilities unless and otherwise asked by the details by SEBI. And with this, another cybersecurity policy, they have mentioned that cybersecurity policy shall encompass the principles prescribed by National Critical Information Infrastructure Protection Center, NCIIPC, of National Technical Research Organizations, NTRO, Government of India, in the report titled Guidelines for Protection of National Critical Information Infrastructure and subsequent revisions, if any, from time to time. As a matter of clarifications, this above clause is applicable only on regulated entities which have been identified as critical information infrastructure by NCIIPC. All these discussions we are going to do, and we are putting before our respected speaker, who is going to join here immediately. And onboarding to market SOC, small size and self-certification with few exclusions has been mentioned here. And a lot of questions have been raised here. In a scenario where an regulated entity is falling under small size or self-certification regulated entities category has its own SOC, is it necessary for such REs to get onboarded to market SOC? It has been there. The query has been resolved like that. It is imperative that setting up own SOC is a costly proposition. Hence, SEBI has mandated National Stock Exchange and BSE to set up market SOC, which is generally known as MSOC, where small size regulated entities and self-certification regulated entities can get onboarded and take the benefit to stay cyber secure and resilient. However, regulated entities who have their own SOC and falling under the category of small size regulated entities or self-certification regulated entities, by virtue of the regulatory actively may leverage their existing SOC. Further, such SOC, such regulated entities, such regulated entities shall also plan for scenarios in which the resumption objective is not achieved. And regarding this, requirement of ISO 27001 certification for qualified RE regulated entities and the corresponding guidelines, it has been clarified that qualified regulated entities are encouraged and recommended, of course not mandatory, to obtain ISO 27000 certifications. While receiving and handling cyber audit reports submitted by their members, stock exchange and depositories shall ensure that adequate safeguards are in place to maintain the confidentiality and integrity of such reports. And regarding, in the event of disruptions of any one or more of the critical systems, the RE shall, within 30 minutes of the incident, declare that incident as disaster based on the business impact analysis. The RTO shall be 2 hours as recommended by IOSCO for the resumption of critical operations. The RPO shall be 15 minutes for all REs. The recovery plan shall be scenario based and in the line with the RTO and RPO specified. In clarifications, SEBI has mentioned that this above mentioned guidelines shall now be read as under the referred from IOSCO. Resumptions within 2 hours. REs shall design and test its system and processes to enable the safe resumptions of critical operations within 2 hours of a disruptions. Even in the case of extreme but plausible scenarios, notwithstanding this capability to resume critical operations within 2 hours when dealing with the disruptions, REs shall exercise judgment in effecting resumptions so that risks to itself or its ecosystem do not thereby escalate. In consultation with the IT committee of these REs, RE shall also plan for scenarios in which the resumption objective is not achieved. Further, RPOs for critical systems shall be 15 minutes as per SEBI circular dated March 22, 2021. So these are exhaustive clarifications have been given, friends, in this circular. It has also been mentioned while receiving and handling cyber audit reports submitted by their members, stock exchange and depository shall ensure that adequate safeguards are in place to maintain the confidential and integrity of such reports. And it is very important for us to understand that how this total matter should be discussed about in our discussions. We are all waiting for our speaker because my speaker is yet to for certain technical glitch. He is waiting in the outside the studio. When it will be resolved, he will be joining. But before that, I'm just putting before you all these circulars. Whatever points have been raised in this SEBI circular, I'm just putting before you. And I'm sure within a very short time, he will be able to join because some glitches are there. And Mr. Dr. Saurabh Maheshwari is very, he's a very authenticate one. He's a speaker in various forums, especially in the cybersecurity. Naturally, we are really eager to listen from him. And it has been also discussed in regarding Part C, recategorization of portfolio managers and merchant bankers. Based on further discussions, it has been decided to revise the thresholds and categorization of REs. How they have mentioned the portfolio managers, criteria and threshold for portfolio managers categorizations, asset under management, the qualified REs, it is not applicable, but mid-size REs, rupees 10,000 crore and above, small size REs more than rupees 3,000 crores and or less than rupees 10,000 crores. Self-certification REs, rupees 3,000 crores and below. For merchant bankers, criteria and threshold for this in this ME's categorizations, merchant bankers, MB's categorizations, we can say all active merchant bankers who have undertaken any merchant banking activity during the relevant period. Merchant bankers categorization for CSCRF, there will be small size REs will be there. All inactive merchant bankers, those have not undertaken any merchant banking activities in the relevant review period, exempt from CSCRF. And Part D deals with cybersecurity audit policy guidelines from CERTIN. This is very important. So far as the professional is concerned, CERTIN has issued comprehensive cybersecurity audit policy guidelines These guidelines are intended to serve as a reference both certain empanel auditing organizations and audit organizations. And REs shall follow these guidelines to ensure a consistent, effective, and secure approach to cybersecurity audits. And stock exchange depositors are directed to make necessary amendments to the relevant bylaws, rules, and regulations for the implementation of the above directions and bring the provisions of the circulars to the notice of their members, participants, and also disseminate the same in their websites. BSC Limited is directed in this circular to make necessary amendments to the relevant bylaws, rules, and regulations for the implementations of the above directions and bring the provisions of the circular to the notice of the investment advisors and research analysts, and has also disseminate the same on their websites. And this circular provisions will be coming into force with immediate effect. And this circular is also issued in exercise. As you know, this is the regulators exercise their powers conferred to the SEBI. And let us do one thing, that understand one thing. This circular is very much available in the www.sebi.government.in. I request all to please go through the circular and please have your understanding on that. And definitely a matter is a matter for us that we shall be going into the details of this particular program. I would just hand over this session to our Dibyendu Roy, the HOD and Secretary of this SEBI, to apprise our participants about the status of our Dr. Saurabh Maheshwari. Over to CMA Dibyendu Roy.
Yeah, sir is joining within 2-3 minutes. Our IT system and IT personnel are on the job. I think you have to wait for a few minutes. Sir will be joining.
Ladies and gentlemen, I just, with all humility, I just want to mention before you that in spite of several effort, Dr. Saurabh Maheshwari is not being able to join the team for certain glitches, maybe in his system or something like that. Therefore, Dr. Maheshwari has shared his presentation.
Yes.
And Dr. Maheshwari
No,
is
you
trying.
speak. We are giving you in the audio, sir.
Please.
Yeah.
Is it possible?
Sir, you can speak, sir. We have put your presentation on the screen, sir. Yeah, you can click on that link. It is showing in the screen. We have shared you a link. You click on that. It will be showing. In the WhatsApp, I have shared you the link. You click on that.
Or will it be possible that he will be able to speak?
Yes, sir. He will speak. He can see on the screen on the mobile, and he will speak. And I will put him in the audio, sir.
When he,
Yes, sir. Your audio. You are on live, sir.
For the technical glitch, I was unable to log in from my system and there was certain issue. But anyway, thanks for the committee to invite me as a speaker on this particular burning topic, that is cybersecurity and cyber resilience framework. I'm sure that most of you are aware about this particular framework, which has come up in 2024, but it has recently got an eye because the deadline of implementation was in September. And that means now most of the organizations all around the country, which are guided and controlled by SEBI, have to undergo a particular cybersecurity and cyber resilience framework. Now, what this framework is, what we need to talk about this framework, and what are the regulatory entities, the SEBI, which are coming up to that. This is the session organized for that. Fine. So I'm immediately coming to the topic because it was a long delay because of technical glitches. Let me tell you how this particular thing comes up. So we'll start with the context and rationale behind the new CFP circular released by SEBI. And this will be clarifying the SEBI is regulatory entities under the framework. And this is a phased timeline. And we will be talking about certain areas out here, and the main focus will be related to certain core components and the strict functionality. So my focus will be on 5 resilience goals and 6 security functions, which has been laid down by SEBI to implement cybersecurity and cyber resilience framework in the country for the single perspective of securing the financial data and financial ecosystem of the country. Fine. So I hope on the screen you can see something connected to SEBI rationale and objective. So the SEBI objective for this is very specific. I hope the 5 points which are coming up in your screen is consolidation, strengthening resilience, alignment with best practices, key objectives, and reporting standards. So let me tell you what exactly are these. So when we talk about consolidation, CSCRF framework supersedes prior SEBI cyber circulars and guidelines which have come from 2015 to 2023. Fine, and this becomes one of the most comprehensive frameworks ever released. The purpose of this framework is three, that is to prevent, prepare, and respond to the cyber incidences which are happening from different sources or different areas. So the primary purpose is prevent, secondary is prepare, and third is respond. For doing so, we will make sure that we are using the global frameworks and standards. Although, as of now, our own country does not have some sort of self-developed standards. But there is no need because there are certain global standards which are already in place, which are applicable and more or less which are on the same parameters. Those includes ISO 2007, or you can say ISO 2000, 27,000 entire framework, NIST guidelines, and I'm sure you are aware about US body NIST, National Institute of Standards and Technology. There are 853 standards which was recently released, which is more focusing on best practices. Then we have CERTIN, which is our own Indian body, that is Computer Emergency Response Team, to set up the IT guidelines for the operations within the country. Thereafter, there are two key things. One is key objectives, in which the focus is to inform the uniformity. Now, what is happening as of now is we are having a lot of standards. A lot of security controls are implemented all over the country, and obviously every organization is finding out their own best suitable ways to implement, which is not the right way. So to inform uniform security standards, we have come up with this particular framework which let down the prima facie guidelines of implementation. And at the same time, there is another important thing which has come up is related to reporting standardization. And I believe that once you are able to understand reporting standardization and correlate that the recently released syllabus of the Institute on IS audit, you can completely find the synchronization between that. Because while drafting the course, we have taken that into consideration. Right? Then comes the key part of it, that is 5 resilience goals. Now, what are these 5 goals? Now, let's focus on these 5 goals on a very systematic basis, right? The 5 goals are talking about anticipation. That is maintaining a state of informed preparedness of critical business functions. Every organization has certain critical functions to work on. And every function is important for the stability and sustainability of the organization. Anticipating, that means working proactively. Right, understanding what can go wrong and where the attacker can actually attack. So for that, understanding the global ecosystem, understanding the cyber security and cyber threat framework, and also keeping an eye on the global scenarios, that is what's happening in other part of the world, is very important for us to proactively anticipate what can go wrong. That is goal 1. Second goal is related to withstand. That is, make sure your own ecosystem is sustainable enough to absorb the shock that can come up because of critical cyber failures, critical technical failures. And those critical technical failures may be in-house technical failures, may be generated and invoked because of internal issues. They can be outside or global failures, which can be there because of intentional or unintentional cyber attacks. The third area which has majorly been negated is our own system weaknesses. That means whatever we are doing may be good enough for our functional and operational work, but are we meeting up the basic cybersecurity guidelines or the cybersecurity related points which are being released by different authorities at a different point in time? So that is withstanding, that is absorbing, and this absorption limits keeps changing. So mark my words, which is very important. Any security framework is not the framework for the lifetime. You have to keep on changing your framework, aligning to the global requirements. You have to keep on modifying your own security controls to make sure whatever new threats coming up, you are aligned to that. Then comes contain. Contain means limit your damage. Although, whatever controls can please it, cannot sure that the control is going to give you 100% security. Now, there is nothing called 100% security. So obviously something may go wrong, but what something is and what can go wrong, there has to be a limit for that. So making a limit damage, and that particular limit is primarily in technical term is known as RPO, that is recovery point objective. RPO means the limit at which the data and the business loss the organization can sustain. Beyond that, it has to be treated as a disaster, and you need to put forward disaster recovery plan based on that. Once you are limiting your damage, another critical goal is to recover. That means to restore your business operations and to resume your mission critical functions with a minimum downtime and minimum impact. Right? And last is evolving. Evolving means learning with your past cyber incidences, learning in the cyber incidences of the environment in your nearest peers and competitor. Make sure your system, your resilient system, your security controls are improving with time. I'm repeating again, 5 cyber resilience goal includes anticipation, withstand, contain, recover, and evolve. So why these kind of resilience goals are specifically being crafted by certain as a body, which are taken as it is by SEBI. But there are certain cases which have come up in the recent past. I'll just discuss a couple of cases for you so that you know that these kind of incidences or the framework is not a framework which has come from the regulatory bodies. It has been a framework because certain bigger incidences have happened in the global market. And one of those incidents was connected to a very big online trading company. And I'm sure you are aware of a company called Grow, GROW. You are aware of a company called Upstock. Both of them have come up with cyber breaches. I will discuss about Upstock breach, which has come up in 2021. And there was another breach which was there in 2024 as well last year. And those breaches have actually raised an alarm that whether these companies were actually taking the investor data. They are also ensuring that the investment related portfolios are maintained. And when we know with portfolios, when you talk about investment, that means financials, right? Even privacy data of an individual, which includes their PAN card details, maybe Aadhaar card, their bank account details, are also connected. If that get compromised, I think that's a bigger threat for the entire Indian financial ecosystem. And there were 2 incidences. One was a data breach, which has happened in 2024, and one was a ransomware attack, which has happened in 2021. And both of these attacks have created or you can say have resulted out in the shattering of the entire Upstock organization and has leaked out huge quantum of data. If you are believing it or not, let me tell you, it has breached out 147 million individual data. 147 million individual data, right? It may be the marketing data which they have for promotion of Upstock. It may be investor data which they are already having for the trading. It may be related to multiple other data points, maybe including their employee data as well. So entire data was being compromised. It includes your bank details, PAN card details. But I'm saying it may include. Correct? So any compromisation can lead to a bigger disaster. That is point 1 I want to make. That is a local Upstock is an Indian company which has resulted out this. There was a big cyber attack which has happened on bank and stock exchange. So I'll discuss the stock exchange related part because it is more connected to SEBI our session. So there was a New York Stock Exchange. The entire stock exchange had witnessed a prolonged cyber attack, which was a denial of service attack in 2020, because of which there were multiple trading halts. This means the execution of the transactions were not happening. The similar event happened in India in 2025 May. Your NSE BSE website had reached out an attack, although our system was resistant enough to withstand this particular issue. And we were able to avoid any kind of warfare or cyber warfare related incidences. But my point is that the attack was there. We were able to withstand the attack only because our sustainability system was there. So the few things to understand from here. Point 1, you should be aware about cyber incidences and issues, which includes what is ransomware attack, how it can happen, when it can happen, and what could be the impact of it. What is denial of service attack? What is distributed denial of service attack? What is known as reconnaissance? Fine. All these things, if are not known to you, you are intentionally or unintentionally exposing a lot of credentials, lot of protected data into a public domain. I'm not saying you are wrong at all things. but organizations which are holding this data on behalf of you, the organization which are processing this data just for executing the transactions again on behalf of you, and you are trusting those organizations, and those organizations are not intentional, but unintentionally got reached out because of some of the cyber attack. The ultimate loser is a customer. The ultimate user is an individual and investor. Right? Although the credibility of organization get lost out, but who is going to incur that financial losses? And if the transaction is delayed or the transactions are not executed in a proper manner, the financial losses of investor. The bigger problem is who is going to talk about this. And today we are into a scenario wherein individual attacks are not happening. It's a collective attacks. So an attacker, or you can say a group of attackers, can intentionally, targetedly, using multiple technological tools, focus on breaching down the system of an organization or maybe even the regulatory bodies. And that is known as APT, which is a bigger and a more sensitive, or you can say more organized attack. What is APT? APT known as Advanced Persistent Threat. That means a group of attackers can parallelly focus on attacking a system in multiple ways. So if one way it's not working, another way, third way, fourth way. So intentional targeted attacks can actually be on your system much faster. Right? And there are a lot of, I should not mention any country or anybody out there, but there are a lot of international hacking organizations which are funded by governments also, and their intention is to espionage the entire stability of the financial ecosystem of other countries. And that is the reason today we have come up with a terminology called zero trust. Zero trust means don't trust on any individual, don't trust on any software until unless you are verifying it on your own guidelines, on your own parameters before installing, before using, before signing up to that. So this threat landscape is clearly justifies that yes, SEBI's CSCRA framework is a very detailed, very stringent framework with a single intention to avoid any damage on the stakeholder. And a successful attack can be mitigated in the best possible manner if we are following this particular framework in best of our capacities. Right? Now this particular framework is supported, or you can say is being linked to something which is known as 6 criteria. I'll just focus immediately on those criteria and then I'll come down to how you can say what are the sides of organization on which it is being implemented. Correct? As of now, I hope you are in completely sync with me. Now
Yes,
I'll focus on six cybersecurity functions which has been highlighted under this. One is governance. Governance means you should focus on leadership oversightness, defining clear roles and responsibilities along with policies. Policies with a clear accountability and oversightness from the cybersecurity bodies, for which the best way is to have some sort of CSOs, Chief Information Security Officer or Chief Cybersecurity Officer in the organizations who are not only keeping the controls intact, but also making the right policies and updating those policies on the regular basis. That is governance. That is first key cybersecurity function area stated in this framework. Second is identify. That means know your asset, know your data, know your risk, and clear classification, or you can say critical alignment of your asset along with the risk is important. And for which there is a framework called ERM, that is Enterprise Risk Management. If you are going for ERM related framework, you are actually making your assets or your digital and digitally supportive assets aligned. You are talking about what all risk can come up from different angles. Although the primary focus should be on cybersecurity risk, but there are other risks also which can be considered in the ERM framework. Correct? So ERM is a comprehensive framework. That is identify the risk areas and identify the asset on which the risk can actually get materialized. The third important part is protect. That is implementing the right control at the right place. The right control can be related to multi-factor authentication. The right control may be related to having encryption of your critical data. The right control can be related to network security like configuration of firewalls. to check whether the controls, whatever has been implemented, whether multi-factor authentication, encryption, firewall, or any other device configuration, whether they are working perfectly or not, you should apply an approach called VAPT. That is vulnerability assessment and penetration test. Now, VAPT in recent years has emerged to a level wherein even certain, when you go for registration, they require a VAPT examination and hands-on to be done. We also included VAPT related things, fix up the vulnerabilities and finding out the gaps in our own forces as well. So my take is that protection is important. So first part was governance, second was identify the assets and risk, third is protection. Fourth becomes detect. For detection, there's a simple terminology SOC, that is Security Operations Center. So do not only implement the controls, also make sure that you are monitoring the effectiveness and efficiency of the control on a regular basis, identifying the intrusion options which can compromise by attackers, identifying anomalies, keeping a log of almost everything. The objective of SOC is the effectiveness of the controls. Make sure if you are not detecting controls which are weakened with a period of time, comes even more bigger vulnerability than not having a control, because weaker control is a bigger vulnerability than without a control. The fifth aspect here is the respond. Respond means make sure every cyber incident should be handled appropriately. Whether it is impacting you have already safeguarded, or it has created a damage for you. That means responding. So you have to understand, responding does not only mean that you have to reply or you have to put up a control, you have to keep a reporting. Responding also includes that certain SEBI, RBI, the respective regulatory bodies or respective bodies who are taking care of the entire ecosystem must be aware about what are the frequency of events and what events are occurring on the regular basis. So certain and SEBI reporting mechanisms should be included. And that is very critical because most of the professionals, when the system is safeguarded because of a threat occurrence or because of the control working perfectly, they don't feel like reporting is critical for them. No, I still believe reporting is critical so that authorities and the regulatory bodies know that what is the frequency of the incident, how and which particular mechanism is working from which particular individual. Right? Then comes recover. That is, after all this, recovery is important. And recovery means you should be able to recover from whatever the damage has occurred for you. It can be connected to having a backup, having a continuity plan, having a recovery site, setting some sort of predefined RPOs and RTOs, and making sure you are monitoring those RTOs and RPOs on a regular basis to ensure that the recovery is happening within precise timeline, and for which a very good disaster recovery plan or a very good business continuity plan is important. So in a nutshell, I'm just summing it out. We have 6 key cybersecurity function areas. One is governance, that is policy. One is identify, that is risk and asset identification. One is putting up the preventive control, that is protect your asset, and keep on checking that with the help of detection mechanism and VAP, that is detect, fourth option. Then responding to all incidences, right, and responding into a particular prescribed format with the authorities and bodies, and also keeping the response related things in your ecosystem also. And then recover if something goes wrong. Make sense? So I hope everyone is there with me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Perfect. Fine.
Yes.
And for this, there are common challenges or common areas which should be considered by everyone, which most of you forget out when you are going for implementation of security. I am sure that most of you are aware about something called Cyber Crisis Management Plan. Cyber Crisis Management Plan. In an organization, you should develop a cyber crisis management plan in advance. That if something goes wrong, what is the step-by-step mechanism you need to respond? Right? It is not a PCP, it is not a PRP, it is crisis management. Now, crisis happens when immediately incident has stopped your functionality. That means as soon as the incident happened, as soon as the cyber attack happened, as soon as your digital identity has been compromised, what the immediate action you need to take? And this particular event lasts for few seconds to few hours. That means whatever you are doing immediately, it is going to sustain you for the controls you are going to implement, for the policies you have, for the framework you have in the near future. crisis management plan has to happen, and crisis management starts as soon as the disaster happens, lasts for few minutes and few hours. During that few minutes and few hours, if the stakeholders' interests are compromised, there is no rollback to that. Most of the attackers are actually interested to compromise your credentials into this particular crisis management, because as an organization, because we are not prepared and having any cyber-related resilience framework, what happens is that got horrified. We don't know what are the immediate actions to be taken. Correct? So that cyber crisis management plan has to be in place, and that's a critical part for it. Correct? Then comes, you need to understand that what are the entities which are covered up. And mark my word, this is very important for all of you, because you all are dealing with small cap organizations, large cap organizations, listed companies, unlisted companies. Okay? So there are five main categories which are being identified as per this particular framework by SEBI. The category one is market infrastructure institutions, which are exchange bodies, which are depositories, right, which are demat account holders and all. So that is market infrastructure enterprise. Those are number one. That means they have to be focusing on a priority basis. Second comes qualified REs. That is qualified organizations, which includes large intermediaries. Large intermediaries includes big brokers. Fine, may include the people who are dealing into trading volumes, fine, which are having huge client base. Those are qualified REs. And I'm sure that you are aware of this particular word called REs is regulatory entity. Agreed? Fine. That is qualified REs. Then we'll talk about the third category, which is known as mid-size REs. Mid-size REs includes mid-level firms, which do not have that involvement, but at least having a small infrastructure within their own ecosystem, and they are managing large quantum of data of their clients. The infrastructure is small, but the quantum of data is good enough. Fourth becomes small size RE, and that includes the remaining small entities, which are like very small firms, or maybe like startups which have just been listed, not having huge turnover and huge volume in the market, but still because of listed, they are being covered up there. And there comes very, very small entities. That is the fifth category, which is known as self-certified regulatory entities. Self-certified. These are very small entities allowed to self-certified compliances. That means they are not under any predefined frameworks. They just need to understand that their asset management, their asset custody, or you can say AUC, that is asset under custody, or AUM, that is asset under management, must be under critical dimensions or not. If that is under critical dimensions, that means yes, they are under the CSCRF framework. If their working is outside this criticality, they are not falling under this. The only criteria under which the classification of organization is happening is on the basis of criticality. Higher the criticality, the the stringent implementation has to happen as per this. Lower the criticality, you can go for self-certification also. Okay, on the basis of your self-certification or maybe some sort of individual IAS auditor, they are coming down, evaluating your firms on a very decent or very light note basis and giving a certification that yes, primarily you are secure enough. But for a listed organization, for organizations which are maintaining, or you can say exchange bodies, depositories, for them, it is not that easy. So they have to go under stringent framework evaluation, has to be evaluated and audited by a certified auditor under a predefined framework or IS for NIST, or maybe some other framework which can come down in times to come by our own government of India. Maybe certain standards, either globally standards or some sort of local standards and regulations, which may be released by certain, fine, or maybe come up by Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology in times to come, or USN or educational institutions, if are capable enough to develop your own standards, which can be accepted by industry. I think nothing like it. So I believe that the way cybersecurity and related concerns are taking shape, developing a standard or developing our own standard, which is much needed, more aligned to our institutions, more aligned to the organizations, more aligned to the regulatory bodies. Obviously, within the Indian ecosystem, it is much needed, much required. In any organization, any educational body or any standard body developing these frameworks, I think the entire country will be applauding for that. Right? Then comes very important part, the phase-wise timeline. Now, this particular cybersecurity, cyber resilience framework has predefined timeline. It was released in 2025, right? And thereafter, the deadlines were extended. Earlier deadline was 31st March. It was further extended to 30th June. It was further extended, and that was the last extension. It was 31st of August 2025. And thereafter, from September onwards, implementation part began. That means by default, the timeline has been over. Every organization has to undergo the implementation of CSCRF framework. All the listed entities which are being under the SEBI. Correct. So schedule-wise, phase-wise implementation was being proposed, so that it's not like overburdening. And obviously, the organization IT infrastructure and technological investment needs to be aligned appropriately. So phase-wise implementation was there, and in that phase-wise implementation, the last extension which was there has been concluded. So all regulatory entities should now be under the compliant and must at least undergo final SEBI review. Right? The extended timeline that SEBI wanted effective compliance rather than just quick, possibly hand-back compliances. Do not talk about just the certification. It has to be effective compliances, and for which the SEBI may look forward for a complete PAPT test on the system. It includes from policy review to your tools monitoring. It can be related to your device monitoring to your AI acceptance. All things can come up. And these all are focusing on a single aspect that, see, the intentions of SEBI and government of India is very clear. To secure the financial sector of the country. Because by default, we are having a high attack intensity. And why high attack? Let me give you certain facts and figure for that. We are second most cyber attack nation in the world. Second most. Although we are not biggest in the IT infrastructure in the world, but we are the second most attacked country in the world. Our data breaches has gone to a different level altogether. Let me give you a small horrifying example. Just a week back, Google, which we all supposed to be a very sustainable and secure infrastructure, their own cyber security has been broken down and attackers have snagged 40 million credentials. Those credentials may include our email IDs and passwords. Those credentials may include the data on our Google Drive as well. That means data breaches issues are rising with time. Extortion, and ransomware. These are common uses in the newspaper. Almost every second day, we feel like somebody has got a ransomware attack, an organization, even banks. We are talking about extortion calls, wherein people are actually getting digitally arrested, whereas digital arrest is not a term in our Indian Penal Code, but digitally arrest. Some videos are being circulated over social media platforms of an individual, which are depicting an individual in an indecent actions, whereas the individual was not even there. So AI-generated videos are there, right? So extortion, and ransomware attacks are increasing. That means attackers are at a very high note today to breach our privacy. Another issue comes up, which very frequently is denial of service and distributed denial of service attacks. Even banks, NSE, BSE, right? Even universities, government websites, even your medical examinations, your result orientation, even your income tax websites, when there is a high traffic, the system crashes. That is denial of service attack. Although you are having credentials, and this is the high time for your filing up of your taxation and all. But I have witnessed few instances wherein device is not responding, the login credentials are not working because it is denial of service attack. It was not an attack. But point is that even a genuine individual is unable to sign up because of flooding of data. That means it can be treated as a cyber problem, right? And then another bigger issue which is commonly being witnessed is insider threat. That means within the organization, people who are being permitted to access the data, to do certain transactions on the system, are having access to your ERP systems and everything. They are bypassing their credentials. they are sharing their credentials or doing certain anonymous activities, either intentionally or unintentionally, which is ultimately affecting the organization's cyber credibility. That is insider threat, which is bigger one because people inside the organization knows what is where. Outsiders have to discover, but insiders knows what is where, and they are having access privileges also. So my submission here is that make sure that's not only you must be talking about certain framework. The primary security starts with awareness. And awareness means you should be aware about what can go wrong and what are the latest cyber breaches, cyber issues, cyber attacks happening all around the world. And just viewing and seeing and listening the news is not sufficient. You have to digest and understand if this can go wrong with you also. What are the controls that can actually avoid certain incidences? So considering all this, I'll just tell you that what is the 5 years next roadmap, because although problem statement is good enough, we all are seeing those problems on the regular basis. The government has already set up and regulatory bodies are already coming up with a lot of frameworks and their own mechanisms. But are we knowing what is 5 years down the line? And are we ensuring that our system is secure enough for that? Correct? And for that, there are two things. One is that is Cyber Capability Index. Understand? Very important. SEBI has released the Cyber Capability Index with a single intention to understand what is your today's cyber capabilities. And with time, are these cyber capabilities maturing with time? And for evaluation of this cyber capability of any individual, there are 23 parameters which are being listed by SEBI. 23 parameters. That means these 23 parameters are revolving around technology, process, people, with a focus on cybersecurity. So if your organization is evaluated on 23 parameters, genuinely, and on the basis of that, you are getting yourself a rating. This rating, as of now today, let's take an example. Suppose your rating falls under the range of 0 to 10, which was a scale at around 5. That means you know what needs to be done next, or what all parameters can be included to raise your bar from 5 to 6 and 6 to 7. That means on a scale to 0 to 10, if cyber capability index is a parameter for evaluation, can we evaluate ourselves and can we put up our own effort to enhance the capability index? And that is what the intention of SEBI is when they release this particular CCI, Cyber Capability Index. Scoring and ranking will be a part of it. Reporting and usage of that reporting in the public domain will be a part of it. So as an investor, suppose I need to invest, obviously, I will be focusing on a company which is having good financial support system, which is having good ROI, which is yielding me more profit per share. But at the same time, today my interest will be much more from the cybersecurity point of view, whether the organization is sustainable or not. So I'm not only looking forward for the financial backup of the company or financial performance of the company, I should also be interested to look forward for their cybersecurity or cyber capability index. So if an organization which is raising the bar on cyber capability, I'll be more trusted on that as compared to the organization which is not able to raise the bar with times to come. This is what is known as improvement model. Correct? And this particular framework is focusing on that. Thereafter, let's talk about 5 years down the line framework, which is very critical for all of us to know that where we are heading towards and whether it's a sustainable movement or not. Right? I hope everyone is with me, sir.
Yes. You carry on, please.
Fine, sir. Fine. Thank you. Now, what are the gaps which you need to cover up and where we are heading towards 5 years down the line? See, my take is that point 1, you have to elevate your cyber risk governance. And cyber risk governance means making sure you should have a body within the organization for cyber management, cyber governance, and they should be making up the policies, frameworks, giving the training to the staff, identifying each and every update which are coming up in the technical domain, whether they are from international regulatory bodies or national regulatory bodies, whether they are from certain government agencies or by private agencies. But any framework, any suggestion, any case to come up must be evaluated. So that means evaluate cyber risk governance, and that is what first thing which I need to focus on. Second is keep on investing in the infrastructure and technology. And today, because it's AI-driven market, today it is more of automation. So obviously, the controls need to be automated also. So you should focus on high-speed replication framework rather than a low-speed manual-driven framework. Right? You should talk about identification of the issues immediately rather than talking about issues to be delayed and maybe taken up at a later stage. Correct? So investment is very important. Any organization who is not investing on the technological infrastructure, at some point of time, they can face certain issues. And those issues can be non-recoverable issues as well. Right? Third comes consolidation and outsourcing. Now, if you feel like you individually as a small player may not be able to withstand the entire load or bear the entire financial burden on cybersecurity, then can we have a shared resources? Can we rely on the clouding architecture, wherein the cloud ecosystem can be signed up with some sort of stringent SLAs, and the responsibility of your data, your functionality, your applications can be shifted from your head to the cloud service provider head. And that is known as consolidation, and which can be group consolidation or individual consolidation also. That means suppose 10, 20 different small scale organizations who are interested in cybersecurity, who wants to build up their own model, can build up a cloud architecture on their own, which is known as private cloud. Or else you can look for outsourcing, which is like putting up your burden on someone else's head. Both the things are important, but identifying the vendor who can develop things for you and making sure that your requirements are specifically mentioned in the SLA, service level agreements, is critical. So do not just jump up in outsourcing. Understand what your requirements are, align your requirements with some sort of outsourcing agencies. It can be cloud service provider of yours, or it can be an agency who can actually consolidate your 20, 30 organization data and start managing it out. But that organization and you must be strongly correlated, connected, and guided in the arrangement. Some sort of predefined parameters, that is service level agreement. Another thing which has been much needed these days is what training and upskilling. Today, either the people you are hiring are not technologically aligned, or if they are technologically aligned also, the way technology is moving, the alignment of 2020 may not be relevant to 2020. Investment into training, covering up the gaps. These kind of workshops and sessions are important for letting you awareness sessions, and thereafter, obviously, I'm sure you all are so keen to know about cybersecurity that we start researching on the platforms as well. So not just IT security, you have to talk about entire digital device management, for which an ongoing process of training and making sure that there is no talent gap, or you can say what industry needs and what your system and infrastructure and people are working. That gap can only be covered up when you are doing two things. One is investment to training and one is investment to infrastructure. And thereafter, agencies are already working. The time has gone when these kind of regulatory updates or framework updations are coming up 5 years, 10 years, 20 years of time. I'm sure today, including SEBI, RBI, fine, and other regulatory bodies, ministries like Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, including certain, are developing frameworks on the regular basis, coming up with guidelines on the regular basis, making sure that you are aligned to them, evolving with the threats and regulatory updates, and for which I believe the website of certain, website of SEBI digital repositories are good enough to reply, to connect with. In summation, I should say that not only focus on today's scenario, keep a vision of 3 years, 5 years down the line. Make sure that you are not only resisting yourself or restricting yourself to a specific domain. Investment on technology is the need of the hour. Technology investment does not only mean purchasing a good hardware or a good software, it also includes focusing on the cybersecurity framework and the resistance or resilience of your organization's cybersecurity part of it. Correct? Fine. So in conclusion, I should say, because I take care of the timeline as well, although I was not aware. So focus on something log. There is a focus of CIAP, that is confidentiality, integrity, availability, and privacy. So whatever the controls are there, this CIAP related part must be ensured. And yes, the controls are preventive, detective, and corrective, but I have a different opinion. I say that preventive, detective, corrective goes later on. The prima focus control is informative control. Keep the right information in place. Keep on informing yourself and updating yourself with the incidences. Right? Keep on making your awareness about cybersecurity much important, and then only you can talk about preventive, detective, and corrective. Because where to prevent and what to prevent talks about information first, right? Happy learning and make sure that this CSCRA framework by SEBI is to be digested by you. Because of technical glitches, is not visible for you. Are only able to view my voice, but I would be very happy to take further sessions on getting things implemented in a very comprehensive and detailed manner. Thank you very much for you all, and thank you very much for barring me for not being able to correct you digitally. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Maheshwari. In spite of so many glitches, you have been able to join, and you have actually when you were about to join, I thought that I should at least tell my all attendees about the participants about the entire circular, what has been crafted, beautifully crafted by SEBI. And let me tell you, SEBI's style of circular is really very commendable. Very, in a very, I should say it's a very reachable to the people, because most of the languages are used in a very, lucid manner. Although it's a very technically it is very, very sound circular, but still I think our members, those who are working in this particular field, they could understand, and your deliberations today amidst all these glitches, it amply proves that you are always giving us a lot of, suggestions. You are I should say that in my life, I have seen such a professional like you, who is always committed to your own objectives, to deliberate on a very high scale level, because your every presentations we have observed that is a full of content, full of knowledge. So I am really, from BFSI board, I am very much thankful to you. Only issues that this particular circular, when we have gone through that, and part A, part B, part C, part D, the audit aspects which has been discussed here in a very in a threadbare manner. As a CMA, I just want to mention your personal opinion, because all these are what you have drafted, you have mentioned here, you have on your own, you have told. Could you please enlighten us about how the role of CMAs will be there in future, as you have shown what is the 5 years down to the line, what would be the roadmap, how CMAs should be also fitting into this case, please.
Sure, sir. See, members out there, you all are very much involved in the establishment of an organization. And I think your financial knowledge, your accounting, your costing, your regulatory knowledge is to a next level. It's just like you have to act from this perspective as well, that cyber awareness is very much important. And because you are controlling or you are guiding one of the most sensitive data, generating one of the most sensitive data, I think cyber security and cyber resilience is what need to be known to you. So for it, systematic roadmap should start from awareness first. Please make sure that you are aware about the happenings all around the world and reading a lot of digital content and cyber related content. Thereafter, one request is that please make sure that you are getting your certifications of IS audits. Because in times to come, I can sense, and I am sure with these kind of regulatory compliances coming up on the regular basis, you can also sense that every smallest of the organizations in times to come need certain sort of cyber capability index, need some sort of assurance and rating, or maybe some sort of certification, somebody who knows about cyber security and cyber resilience from an open point of view. So IS audit and system securities are going to be a very critical domain areas, not only from financial perspective, but also from professional perspective. And whatever we are doing with a single intention to make India as a cyber secure nation, not only digitally inclined nation, we have to be digitally secure also. So roadmap should start from awareness, sir, and then leads to certification. And then certification, I have always requested that members must have some sort of regular upgradation on the technical side as well. So certification of 2024 is good enough to sign, but not good enough to audit current scenarios. So some sort of technical competency hours and upskilling hours is pretty much needed. And if you are aligned to these basic guidelines, keep yourself updated, keep yourself aligned to certifications, and keep yourself aware about the cyber incidences all over the world from certain genuine resources. And one of the genuine resources is certain platform, which is already giving you most of the information, most of the use cases, most of the scenarios. They are not only putting the problem statement in front of you, they are also projecting the solution process to recover from that issues. If you are going for this, I think that's a huge scope in the market from the professional side as well. Over to you, sir.
Okay, fine. Thank you. Thank you for your great suggestions. We shall work out that on that in your consultation with yourself from BFSI board. We shall be definitely taking forward. Let me tell you, we had a very good program in the like webinar, cybersecurity and financial fraud, which was dealt by from UK in association with our London Overseas Center. And there also a lot of discussions were taken place. I would request Dibendu to please share these discussions points to Dr. Maheshwari. And today's sessions, what we have dealt will be definitely, we shall be transcripting and we shall be sharing to the all members through our BFSI Chronicle. And let us also have some plan how we can really go with some certifications course on this particular matter for, for awareness of our members and so that they can really deal with this man in this particular cybersecurity as enunciated by SEBI in this particular circular and clarifications. We shall be going by that only. So with this, I am really thankful to you again.
Just a small point to make. Yes, sir. I have created a small documentation, and I will be much and then happy then if I can share with you. You can share with the members, which will tell you the decoding of the entire circular in a very simplest terminology.
Fine, sir. That will be excellent. That will be excellent. And you please, we shall definitely again. Definitely, this is the part one. It's a preliminary. Second, we shall again. We can have another session on that when you will be available. And that way we can sensitize our members in an entire mode, because I understand that these clarifications, this circular is definitely a very important circular for the, even I should say one word, that is survival, because digital fraud, digital, all these matters, what is happening, we have to be very, very cautious and we have to be very, very conversant with the entire process. Otherwise, as you have mentioned in your deliberations, a lot of frauds have occurred, a lot of, cybersecurity problems have occurred. Not only in India, but also in other countries. So let us work on that and we shall be very happy to share with our members again. Thank you.
Sure, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Please wait for our vote of thanks to you. Please. I request our HOD to please share his vote of thanks.
Thank you, sir. I think in spite of many handicaps, we could hear Saurabh sir's voice and his speech and also his presentation. He has shared with us. We have shared his presentation and I thank wholeheartedly, sir, for your excellent presentation, and hope, sir, next time we will have a proper session so that you can come in person, both physically and online. And with this, we also thank our chairman Chittaranjan sir, who has always motivated us to organize more webinars and physical events. We thank our advisor Partha Chaudhary, who is former CGM of RBI, for always encouraging us with a lot of motivation. We also thank our president, vice president, our council members, our BFSI board members. We thank our team BFSI. We also thank IT, CPD, and others who has been helpful for doing this session online. With this, we close today's session. We will be having our next session very soon. We will announce it for the benefit of the members. And I think, as Sir has put in, that in spite of glitches, I think things are, at last, people have appreciated that session is excellent. And I can see in the chat box, many people have benefited from this session, which is our objective. In spite of the wee hours of the day, we thank everybody for associating for today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks to the board secretary also. Secretary has taken tremendous effort for this, ultimately to launch the program in spite of the very glitches. So I again thank our, rather I should convey my lot of thanks to our entire team who has taken this pain to make this program actually happen, because I was very much apprehensive what is going to happen. But anyhow, it is because Dr. Maheshwari is also a person who deals with all these technicalities every day. So naturally, it could happen ultimately. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Apology for not being able to link, but anyway, all well, stand well. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, sir, we are disconnecting, sir.